TandLers, and welcome to TandL Talks, the podcast for, about, and featuring fabulous educators. I'm your host, Nancy. In this episode, I get to sit down with two amazing teachers to talk about the August Teaching and Learning Summit. Of course, the focus of our learning district-wide was shifting the story, starting the year with purposeful writing. We'll hear about what stood out to them, the ideas they're excited to try in their classrooms, and how this shared learning can make writing instruction more doable and more joyful for everyone. Let's get started. Welcome to TandL Talks. I'm your host, Nancy, and I am super excited today to talk to two of our North Hill teachers about the Teaching and Learning Summit that we just finished. So please introduce yourselves.
My name is Erin Langston. I'm a teacher at Northwood Elementary. I teach Title I, and I am our MTSS lead. And I've been teaching for, 10 years.
And I am Meen Mensonides. I am a special education teacher at Mountain View. Been teaching special ed for, 8 or 9 years, starting at the secondary level and now at the elementary level.
Great. Well, thank you both for being here. We just finished our training. It's really, really hot and we're all tired, so I appreciate that you're willing to give us a few minutes. So, what stood out to you today about today's professional learning?
I can start.
Okay.
For me, it was very interesting because we have always, as interventionists, separated reading from writing. And I think that's been a classroom issue as well, just how to find the right writing components. So with that, it was really cool to see how, those phonics skills, those decoding skills, those blending skills that we teach in reading, they really do translate so fluidly over to the writing component.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think as a special ed teacher, we also do that. We separate our minutes according to reading instruction and writing instruction, when I think best practice would be to combine the two together and let them flow very organically. And I agree. I think I liked that it was a very systematic approach, and the discussion was around not only the grammar, the punctuation, but also the ideas and the knowledge and the concepts that also need to be available for students to be able to fluently write.
Mm-hmm. I remember I was a special ed teacher, and when I was a brand new teacher, I remember thinking, I was a resource teacher, and I'm thinking, how do I teach reading and writing separately? If I've got a kid who only qualifies for writing, how do I do that in isolation? That's weird. I never figured it out because we didn't have CKLA that many years ago. So was there a light bulb moment or an idea that just shifted your thinking today?
I'll go. I really liked that I had in front of me a paper that showed me a scope and sequence from the beginning of the school year to the very end of the school year of all the skills that are expected to be mastered or taught per grade level, and even broken down into beginning of the year skills, middle of the year skills, end of the year skills. It just showed me the different progressive steps and the overlap that happened. And so for me, having to backtrack for kids that are needing some remedial or reteaching, it helped me kind of figure out where I needed to begin and what that process would look like.
I agree completely. It was very, very helpful to see the vertical alignment. And I saw a lot of the classroom teachers, the gen ed teachers too, seeing that vertical progression throughout the grade levels. And that's really what we focus on doing our RTI or our win time. We've really tried to create that vertical alignment, but really when we look at this, it's already done for us.
Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that also takes a little pressure off of teachers. I feel like our primary teachers sometimes feel like they have to do so much writing, and our intermediate teachers then get a little frustrated because kids aren't fluent writers. And I feel like the work that CKLA has done for us and our own ELA cadre has done breaks that down differently. If I'm concentrating on letter formation in kindergarten, that feels really good. Kids don't have to write a paragraph by the end of first grade. But what if they write a really good sentence? Wow, how great will that be for second grade, third grade? So I'm hoping that provides some relief for our teachers too, all the way along the spectrum. So is there a strategy or an approach that you learned about today that you're excited to try with your students?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think that this training really solidified what we're doing in Lap and Title that's helpful, but it's also kind of vetting out, okay, we can cut these certain components of things. I think that in general, we really, really focus on literacy, which is obviously the goal of Lap and Title, but we have to stay in the mindset that we can still put in that extra component of U-Fly, for instance. U-Fly, there's always the writing component at the end, and that's something that we often skip. And I think that's really going to be a really important part to put into the actual curriculum and make sure that we're giving time for, just because that's going to end up being helpful and solidifying students' thoughts and ability to put their thoughts into words.
And this really wasn't presented in like the writing piece, but I liked the slide where he talked about I do, we do, or I do, we do, you do, and then you reflect.
Right.
I had not seen that fourth piece before, and it just was like an aha moment for me. I reflect often on my practices, whether I'm noting or having a conversation with somebody else. And it's a powerful piece. And so to expect our students to do the same, I think we're going to see a tremendous amount of growth if I start practicing that last you reflect.
Also, I loved when I was with the kindergarten group, just adding this, they were talking about how much they have to use repetition. And so they were saying, oh, we're going to take that, but we're going to switch it to I do, we do again, then yes. You do, and then the reflect, just to give that little extra piece.
Well, and when I think about it that way too, I also think that's a great place for differentiation, right? If you do I do, we do, and you've got a handful of kids who've got it, you can send them, and then the rest of us can we do again.
Absolutely.
And then reflect, yeah. How do you think today's learning will support all writers in the classroom, especially those who may struggle?
I think as a special ed teacher who really works with our staff on accommodations and modifications that can be applied in the general education setting and not just in my specific setting, I would have liked to seen more discussion around immersive reader or speech to text, how to utilize that, where it would be appropriate in a classroom situation, how to teach your students how to utilize those accommodations that are already built into our curriculum and our system.
I think it's going to be really cool having that extra third grade component too, where it's the actual little phonics section that's tied to the actual writing component. I'm excited about that.
What did you notice as you learned alongside colleagues today?
I loved how excited everybody was. Just hearing that, okay, we are doing what's right. There actually is a lot more writing involved in the CKLA than we thought, because I have personally witnessed every grade level being so incredibly stressed out because they felt like they were not hitting that writing component. And then in this training, it was kind of like affirmation. Okay, we just have to add a little more and it's going to be okay. It's going to all work out. It'll align. So that was super cool to see.
Good. That makes me happy.
I felt really validated when I sat in the training for K through 2, and the presenter said that she has taught all grade levels, and she always felt like she was very comfortable teaching math and science and reading, but when it came to the writing piece, she felt it was just so abstract and so difficult to put into words and to obtain evidence for and to teach and then to grade. And so I have felt that for a very long time. So it was I felt like somebody else was sharing those same struggles that I had had. And I saw a lot of heads nodding and having conversations with colleagues, having kind of been in the same position, feeling the same things.
Mm-hmm. How did your team's conversations influence or deepen your own learning?
That's a good one. I think more than anything, it just really helped me being with a team other than my LAP and TandL team, being with the kinder team, hearing, okay, this is what we struggle with. This is what we need to focus on. And I do go into their PLCs or PLTs, but it was really helpful. And I also bounced around to the first grade and the second grade too, just to kind of weigh in on how they were feeling about everything. I just felt like that was helpful.
It was interesting to hear the conversations bouncing back and forth between like, well, what does first grade start with? And, oh, well, fifth grade starts with this. And how can we all integrate that into our entire school-wide writing that we do? And they were quick little conversations, but very meaningful for me because never have I really sat down and thought about, well, first grade starts here, but fifth grade starts here, and third grade is here. And it was really cool to hear those conversations.
I think any of us who facilitate professional learning have to really consider that vertical alignment, because it's really hard to make those conversations happen as a teacher when your planning times aren't the same, your recess times aren't the same. There isn't the structure for that. So I love it when we can create those opportunities for teachers to see that K-5 piece, to see what kids are doing from the very beginning of landing in elementary school to fifth grade and beyond. It sort of puts things in perspective. I think it can help you prioritize, oh, I don't need to do all of these things, but I need to do this one really well so that next year's class is good to go. Why do you think it matters that we're all doing this work together as a district?
For beginners, I think we have kids that switch a lot. We have kids that move from school to school to school, mm-hmm. and at least they will have that familiarity with the routines, with the curriculums. I mean, it's also for fidelity, and so that as a district we can be cohesive and build our scores and better ourselves. But at the same time, I think on a level for our kiddos and thinking about them, it makes transitions within the district a lot easier on them.
For sure.
I think we also find ourselves as teachers behind closed doors with, these sweet little faces facing us all day, and kind of living on islands, right? And it's really, maybe it's not quite as difficult to visit the person who teaches right next to you, but to visit somebody who teaches a completely different grade level or subject matter than you. I think it's really important that we all just camaraderie are together and share our strengths and our weaknesses, our struggles and our successes as well.
Absolutely. I'm part of a district PLC or PLT. And I mean, we're coming from 10 different schools, and it's amazing to be able to get together and say, okay, this is what we're working on, and have the same language. Mm-hmm. And we can be talking about the same exact curriculums, bounce ideas off each other, and have that knowledge base. That's huge.
I love days like this where I get to just eavesdrop on teams that don't normally work together, but when we have different schools, it's so cool to hear that sharing of ideas. It was so fun. Even the principals had their own group and their own tasks, and to hear them sharing, oh, here's what we do at our school. I could do that. The Mountain View writing notebook was a big deal. Can you talk about that just for a quick minute?
So that was a homegrown idea last year. We were sitting in one of our PDs, and it was just sort of mentioned that we were wanting to work on more SCL type work in Mountain View, but we also knew that our writing scores needed some intervention. So our SEL TOSA just brought up, hey, why don't we combine the two And so then we started looking at different prompts, and we went through and chose our top, I think, 50, and she put them together, and that's kind of how it happened.
And so tell us a little bit about it. So your whole school has the same prompt once a week?
We do. And well, Eric last year would announce the prompt, and then the teachers would help the kids write and scaffold that. And then at the end of the week, Marissa or Eric would choose a few students, and they would read it over the intercom. And it was always really sweet to hear the differences between our TK and maybe our fifth grade writers, but it was a really special opportunity for those kids.
The principals that I was sitting with all just loved that idea. So my guess is that the other 3 schools that were with us today are probably going to start something similar. I love that. And again, it's that school-wide focus. It's something that we can all do together and our kids can all do together. That's just super powerful.
Yeah, and what I really appreciate is, with Anne coming in, she's going to kind of harness that energy now and sort of steer that in a different direction, which I'm really excited to see. And that was where a lot of our conversation was, can we schedule our writing prompts around what our students are learning in the classroom? So can we do like a narrative during the time when most of our grade levels are working on narratives and expositories and just all of those different things. So that was a conversation we had as a staff as well.
That's exciting. So what's one thing you hope your students will say about writing in your class this year?
I would love it if they didn't hate it, because every year it's like, oh, we have to write. So I think in my little group, we were brainstorming, okay, how can we make this fun and exciting? And I think the key is going to be us being excited about it and not dreading it too, kind of lead by example. But also, there's always a ton of really fun GLAD strategies and other things that you can glean from and pull from. But I think my favorite idea, we were talking about it as a collaborative group, was that most of us do a question of the day, just to get the kids going and whatever else. And if we have them write down or even draw a picture of their answer, I mean, they're going to love that. They love fun whiteboards anyways. So I'm really excited about that. Getting them excited about writing, not dreading it.
Right.
For me, I would like for my kids to make the connection that writing is an expression of themselves and to be able to view it in that way. Just depending on what word choices you use, you can paint a whole different mind picture for somebody. And it just offers a lot of freedom to express themselves in ways that maybe they could not do verbally. So I would love for them to leave Mountain View having that skill and feeling that power.
I love that. Imagine if we're doing this in elementary. I always think when we do it right, how does that feel for those junior high teachers, right? When they get those kids and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a noticeable difference. These kids are different writers than they were last year. That's exciting to think about. What's one word to describe, or you can use more than one word if you need more than one word. I usually need more than one. But something just to describe your experience with professional learning today.
Ooh, one word. I don't think I have one word. I'm trying to think. It was memorable in lots of different ways. There were a lot of aha moments that happened for me. I felt like pieces sort of fell into place that I had been mulling over, that I didn't really know answers to. Not that I necessarily got the answers, but I was able to see how they fit into the puzzle.
Right. Okay. This is very cliche, but I'm feeling very hopeful. I feel like this kind of gave our school just the boost that we needed to know that we can be confident we are doing what we should be doing. We just need to add a few little components. But I'm feeling very hopeful towards this school year, just that we're going to get them writing.
Right. Well, thank you both so much for your time. I appreciate your learning today, and I appreciate you sticking around for a few more minutes and talking with me. So thank you for being guests on TandL Talks, and have a great evening.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of TandL Talks. I loved hearing how Erin and Meen reflect on their takeaways and the ways they're planning to bring new energy into writing instruction. Professional learning days like the Teaching and Learning Summit are all about growing together, and the real impact happens when those ideas come to life in your classrooms. I hope this conversation sparks some fresh thinking for you and reminds you that you're not alone in the challenges and the joys of teaching writing. Thank you for listening to this episode of TandL Talks. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube so you never miss an episode. And hey, if you enjoyed today's conversation, give us 5 stars and share it with a colleague who could use a little inspiration. Until next time, keep learning, keep encouraging your writers, and keep celebrating the growth you see every day.